What's going on, Jerome's? Happy Wednesday. Happy hump day out there to those who celebrate multiple times. Birds are chirping and stuff, and it's time for another Vikings news dump. So on Sunday, the Vikings take on the New York Football Giants in New Jersey, looking to start off the 2024 campaign with a W on the road. Revenge is certainly on our minds. We'll get after things. But a question heading into the game is the availability of a wide receiver 2, but really 1B, Jordan Addison, Purple Persuasion. According to Darren Doogie Wolfson's on Score North, he fully expects wide receiver Jordan Addison to play on Sunday against the Giants. Addison injured his ankle during the joint practices with the Browns. Now, Addison did return to light work on Monday. We'll get the full injury report today. Also, Doogie mentioned that Jalen Speedy Naylor should be 100% and good to go as well. He was working off to the side at Monday practice as more of a precautionary measure, so it's a good sign because it is going to have to be all hands on deck. Plus, Speedy Naylor, man, I'm banking on a big time bust out, man, because you have Jefferson, you got Addison taking up all the attention, and also Brandon Powell has talked about that he is going to contribute more on special teams this year, focusing on being a returner as well on kicks as well as on punts. So I mean, Naylor's wide receiver 3, and you could even make a case that Tristan Jackson's wide receiver 4. We'll get into the Vikings unofficial depth chart that was put out, but we'll get to that later today. So Tuesday was press conference day. All the coordinators fed the local media jackals, and Flores had some love for Diamond Dallas Turner. Alcalus, the Athletic Go. Flores on Turner, very athletic, very smart, very tough, very demure. I hate that that's a thing, and also I hate that it is in my brain now because my wife keeps talking about TikTok. My wife. Nothing but positives, quite honestly. Flores highlighted how good Jonathan Grenard, AVG, PJ2, and Jihad Ward had been to him and for him in that room. And Turner's like a sponge, man. He's exactly like J.J. McCarthy, just the edge rusher version. Both 21, both hungry for knowledge, both bugging the bejesus out of their position coaches and even opposing coaches, and also the player they go up against most on the other side of the ball with Turner, talking the ear off of Christian Darrisaw. But all of this is because he wants to be great. Now, a lot of players come to this league, they made it. Right? And they're just okay being good, but a very select few want to be great, and Turner wants to be great. Dwight McLaughlin wants to be great. J.J. McCarthy wants to be great. LDR certainly wants to be great. Let's go, man. As disappointing as the 2022 draft class has been, I think 2024 has a chance to be one of the greatest in team history. Also great is Coach Hatt. He's one of the best special teams coordinators in the game. Dave Muzatani, Pioneer Press. Matt Daniels said Ty Chandler will be the kickoff returner for the Vikings. Brandon Powell will also be back there. So, again, this flies in the face of what Kwesi and Kevin O'Connell said last week with Myles Gaskin. But, I mean, last week may have been just more, hey, we let go of King Kene, who was an all-pro kick returner, and here's our reasoning because of Myles Gaskin. But in reality, it's going to be Chandler and Powell. And again, it speaks to Powell's usage more on special teams this year and more of a gadgety offensive player. Chandler's interesting because I think Ty Chandler has a chance to be awesome back there as well. Given his speed and given his shiftiness, I think that he has a chance to bust a couple. So hopefully the Vikings will have a competitive advantage at kick returner even without King Kene. Next. Speaking of running backs, so Andrew Kramer, Strib, offense coordinator Wes Phillips on the run game. We narrowed down some things and some stuff that we want to major in. Aaron Jones can run just about any scheme in terms of outside zone, inside zone, man, gap, etc. Great vision on tight end, tight and wide zone runs, can run duo, and the offensive line looks a lot better when you have good runners. And that's part of it too. I mean, everything was connected when the Vikings struggled in the run game last year. The offensive line wasn't getting a push, and the running backs weren't finding lanes. The Vikings were last in league in terms of yards before contact for running backs last season. But with Jones, Jones can do a lot of things, man. And also the Vikings passing game, I do think that it is going to be opened up with a healthy JJ, healthy Addison, and eventually a healthy Hockenson. That I think that Jones could have light boxes. Same thing with Ty Chandler. And I think that they certainly are going to do some damage, man. So I'm pretty fired up. I do think that Jones will be flirting with a 1,400, 1,500 yards from scrimmage type season. And I think Chandler is certainly going to get his as well. So I think the Vikings are going to be good on the ground. Some of the Vikings weren't good at is bringing Jaren Hall back to the practice squad. But Seattle signed him up. They had interest in him in the draft last year. And also, apparently, they had some little interest this offseason as well. Vikes fan page. The Vikings had a little pequeño dialogue in trade talks with the Seahawks for quarterback Jaren Hall recently, who now joins their practice squad. Darren Dugan-Wolfson mentioned on Score North. Seattle showing a good amount of interest in Hall dating back to the draft last year. Now, you could say, well, why didn't Kwesi trade him for a 7th-round pick? I don't think that was on the table. Probably was not, because here's the thing. Like, if Seattle would have traded, say, a conditional 7th-round pick to the Vikings for Jaren Hall, they would have had to take on his rookie contract, which wasn't guaranteed, so that's beside the point. But also, they would have had to put him on their 53-man roster. Now, if they had claimed him off of waivers, they also would have had to do the same thing, put him on the 53-man roster. But they gambled that he would clear waivers, and he did, and they gambled that they were able to entice him to their practice squad. So it is what it is. So it's not like Kwesi turned down draft capital, because draft capital probably wasn't there. Now, could there have been earlier in the offseason, specifically after the Vikings drafted J.J. McCarthy? Possibly, except I'm sure that the Vikings want to see how things played out during OTAs and training camp, but just is what it is. Wishing the Mormon Missile the best, except for when the Vikings play the Seahawks late in the season. There you go. Speaking, I have no transition. But speaking of money, Vikes fan page, Vikings head coach Kevin O'Connell has plenty of fans in Eagan. Cool. Doogie thinks even if things go sideways a little bit in 2024, O'Connell will ultimately get a contract extension. He mentioned on Score North. O'Connell has the same record as Dolphins head coach Mike McDaniel, 20-14, and one playoff appearance, who just received a 4-year extension not too long ago. Yeah, but that's more about McDaniel not being Flores. Now, or, hey, but Kevin O'Connell is boring compared to Mike McDaniel, or something like that. Now, but I do think that this season is important, because honestly, if the Vikings go 4-13 and end up with the number 1 overall pick, I'm not sure that O'Connell and Kwesi's futures are secure. But I do think that this offseason is an interesting inflection point, because I think 100% the Vikings either have to fire Kevin O'Connell and Kwesi, or they have to extend him. They can't have this situation where they go into next year as lame ducks, meaning 1 year left on their deal, because players will tune out coaches and GMs who they don't think are going to be part of the long term. Also, it could certainly hurt the Vikings in free agency. Like, if you're a high priority free agent with options, do you want to sign up for a place where the GM who signed you could be gone, and the coach that signed you could be gone, and a new scheme comes in? Maybe you're not a fit for that, and you could be gone as well. No one's going to sign up for that. So the Vikings have to decide this offseason, because Mark Wilf has talked about how they're not going to do any deals in season. But they have to decide, hey, are we moving on, or are we extending? Because you can't have this half-pregnant thing next year. You just can't have that at all, right? But I do think that Kwesi and Kevin O'Connell are a package deal as well. Because also, say they fire Kwesi but extend O'Connell. I mean, any GM worth his salt isn't going to want to walk into that situation unless he's completely sold on Kevin O'Connell. Like, most head coaches want to hire their own most GMs want to hire their own head coach. So, well, we'll see. Either way, it's a long way till next offseason. And also, after the Vikings win a dozen Lombardies in the next 10 years, the Wolves will be like, why didn't we sign him in last offseason? But it's probably a good problem to have. Also, bad problem, but a good situation. J.J. McCarthy already busting ass on his rehab, already putting in that work. Sean Borman. Kevin O'Connell said J.J. McCarthy is doing great in his rehab and is always being challenged mentally. O'Connell said McCarthy has a little motorized cart that he uses to get around the facility. He chuckled that he said JJ crashed it into his office yesterday, but wasn't hurt. Just don't let Addison drive it. But it's funny, like McCarthy. So McCarthy, so he had a knee injury, so he's not going to have like the little push cart like Kurt had. But it's funny, like McCarthy's like one of the youngest guys on the team, and he's got the rascal just driving around. But been in meetings, picking the bejesus out of coaches and the veterans around him. So as we said, like McCarthy, even though he's injured, he can be in team meetings, he can be in position meetings. He will still get the full benefit of being in those rooms. He just won't be able to do it on the field, which is a major part of it. But with young players coming into the league, it really is more about between the ears. And McCarthy's still going to be able to get that education. So it's good to see. Also good to see. Hey, old guys getting paid. So Trent Williams holdout is over, even though he has $2 million in fines that can't be waived. But major contract, huge deal, 3-year deal, 36 years young, still getting it done. So love that. And if if Trent Williams just keeps working, keeps grinding, just getting his sleep in, getting his workout in, studying the playbook, one day, he can be half as good as Christian Darrisaw. That's all. Also, Cam Hayward getting paid too. So Cam Hayward had like a mini holdup, but 3-year, $45 million deal, $29 million in new money and $16 million guaranteed. Woo! That's right. The 5-tech of all 5-techs, Hayward is 35, but still getting it done. It's great. I love guys with salt and pepper in their beard getting big time money. It's a man's game, especially down in the trenches, and you'll see that too, where defensive linemen, specifically guys who are good against the run and guys who are good at setting the edge, like they're in high demand. I mean, Calais Campbell's still getting paid, man. Cam Hayward definitely getting paid. Love to see that. Speaking of getting paid, so a guy's been paid several times. Stefan Diggs voted as a captain for the Houston Texans, the upstart squad, along with, I don't know, looks like Tunsil, looks like CJ Stroud. It doesn't matter. Is there a long snapper captain? Great. Oh, Jimmy Ward? Are you Jimmy Ward? Who wants to know? But yeah, Stefan Diggs. Now, we as Vikings fans, of course, have our thoughts about Stefan Diggs. And also Bills Mafia now has them too. But it's funny. Like, Diggs is obviously talented, but he's been traded twice out of very good situations. Like, both times he's been traded, the team made the playoffs the year before. Which is kind of funny to me. Now, with Houston, I actually don't trust Diggs as a wide receiver one. I think that Nico and Tank deserve more work than Stefan Diggs at his age, but I'm sure he doesn't see it that way. But it's going to be interesting because fellow team captain C.J. Stroud, like Stroud is an absolute alpha. Like Stroud will lay down the law. He don't broke no BS. So it's going to be interesting to see, hey, if Stefan Diggs isn't getting targets, Stroud's not going to put up with it. So I kind of like to see that. But Diggs, I mean, no one would let him date their sister. And also with the recent drama being spewed by Mike Zimmer, I mean, Stefan Diggs was certainly in the thick of that as well. But it's just so funny. It's so funny. But Diggs had a photo spread with GQ because why not? And in the interview, he said this. Quote, "There's some things that happened in Minnesota that I never shared, that I won't share," he says, "because I'm a professional. I believe in professionalism. You don't got to talk bad about your ex-girlfriend to your new girlfriend." Now, this interview probably took place before Zimmer spilled all of his tea, so I don't think the "I'm a professional" is necessarily a shot at Zimmer, but it's so funny because he's never been shy about airing out dirty laundry before. And also, it's almost even worse because he's trying to virtue signals like, I'm a professional. Like, I know things that I'm not going to share here because I'm a professional. Please. But it's okay. Vikings play the Texans week 3. So, hey, bring it. Stephon Gilmore. That's right. Locking you down. Love to see that. Something I also love to see. So, Dan Campbell, head coach of the Lions, who kind of stinks because obviously we have to dislike the Lions, but I really like Dan Campbell. I think he's fantastic, and you see why players play hard for him. But Campbell was in an Applebee's commercial, same thing. I think a couple guys are in these commercials. I think Brock Purdy's in one. Yeah, but it's funny. Dan Campbell, so in the commercial, like he's covering his mouth as they're taking their order because it's like the NFL. Don't want lip readers. Don't want those lip readers stealing your plays. All that stuff. But what's funny to me is Dan Campbell doesn't call plays. Ben Johnson does. Just Dan Campbell takes all the credit for it. Not saying. Or what's he going to say? Go for it. Go for it in this very stupid spot, the 2-point conversion. Just go for it. It's very stupid, but go for it. That was supposed to be. And I will say this. I feel like Dan Campbell's got some acting chops. Like, I think that he could be like a Jesse Ventura in Predator, like with Arnold Schwarzenegger and stuff. I think he could do that, man. All right, so after he gets fired after the season, Hollywood, baby. That's right. That's all. 2 for 20. 2 for 20. On 2. Anyways, that's it. Vikings news dump on this beautiful, wonderful Wednesday. You guys are the best. You know what to do. Skull production value.